we're going to see what's happening. Okay. So,
Reality Aggravated Report.
Welcome to the first ever Existential Breakfast episode of the Reality Observation Report.
hopefully it is working now.
Yeah, I don't really hear the reverb
I don't either.
on the other trial runs that we did.
Well, I don't know if it's going to work or if it's not going to work.
Fuck it, we'll just have it. Just go, dude, and just record because I want to have at least an episode of something, you know.
Right. Well, I just don't want people to look on Facebook and then be like, "There's nothing here. I can't see anything. Can't hear anything."
Well, I much rather have it where you can't see video but hear audio than the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Because if they just see us sitting here, it's really boring. See, that's what I was saying, because the screen's black or whatever.
Right.
We can always just figure shit out.
So there's not a way to tell. I just texted Mercedes to ask her to see if she can see it and hear it. Because if she can, that's the only way. That's the only bad thing about.
You have to get somebody else to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't have Facebook because you're
not
beyond social media.
Well, I do have social media. The only thing I have legacy social medias where nobody uses anymore. Tumblr, I have a Tumblr. The reason is because the newer social medias are super addicting. I can probably be lost forever on Facebook. And then same thing for Instagram, looking at other people's art. But Tumblr is not addicting at all because your whole homepage is yours. You don't really have to see anybody else's stuff if you don't want to. Right. So I can just post stuff there and then just go on my way. And same thing for Twitter. I never really understood Twitter, but I never same thing with Facebook. When Facebook was kind of like Twitter at the beginning, where you can type out stuff and post on your wall, I never understood that. Would people really be interested in what I have to say? And that's kind of how I feel with Twitter. It's
Twitter is just. I just recently got into Twitter, for our thing, and.
But I mean, but you're not saying, hey, this is what Reality Observation Report is doing today, and having people care. You're actually posting stuff and content and things. That's vastly different than trying to sound like you're interesting when you're clearly not.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of Twitter is just people retweeting. Mercedes just popped on to see if she can see and hear. Hopefully she says yes. But yeah, Twitter is pretty much just reposting. People just, what I'm gathering from it is that people will just repost something that has a lot of likes and retweets already. So then they'll just retweet that in order to get more posts and relikes.
So just trying to piggyback.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think it was maybe springtime because I noticed that I wasn't doing anything on Twitter. I completely got rid of it. Completely. So I used to have it, but I never posted anything on there. And it's just I never really get on there anyways. Because what I was doing is posting some art pictures on Instagram, and then you could feed it to what you have, like your Tumblr or your Twitter.
Thanks, Michael. Michael just posted you're good to go. We are good to go. It took an hour to figure it out.
It became the existential brunch. So the existential breakfast.
Yeah, now it's not the existential breakfast, it's the existential brunch.
But it still is EB.
Yeah, existential brunch. So this is just to kind of recap. We're going to try to, it's an offshoot of the Reality Observation Report. It's just going to be on Saturday, Sunday mornings, and just kind of talk about things.
Just get your day started with some thoughts.
Yeah, like Disney's One Saturday Morning.
Yeah, I was more of a Fox.
I don't think I ever even. I don't know what was on Fox. What cartoons were on Fox?
Sonic the Hedgehog, which I was like.
Oh yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog was on that, and then I think Ninja Turtles was on there. The second series of Ninja Turtles.
Oh really?
Yeah, and until Nickelodeon bought them. Got the rights. But what else was on Fox? Maybe I did watch a lot of Disney because it was like Pepper Ann, Doug, the Disney version of Doug. Were
Pepper Ann? What the fuck was that?
Dude, she's 1 in a million. You don't remember Pepper Ann? She had like a friend. I don't remember any other names beyond Pepper Ann, but her friend was kind of like an artsy type of guy, and she was like this nerdy redhead. I don't know. It was like a dumb Saturday morning cartoon. And
Yeah.
then the Mighty Ducks. Did you ever watch the Mighty Ducks?
Like the TV show? Or
The
movie?
cartoon where they're actual ducks from a different
Oh, yeah,
universe.
yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Where he put on that mask and he changed into like a badass duck.
Are you talking about Darkwing Duck?
No, but I did watch Darkwing Duck as well.
Oh.
Mighty Ducks was like, they were hockey players, but they were ducks from another reality.
Ducks from Another Mother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like they would go on space or just like, they're superheroes basically, but
Yeah.
just ducks from a different thing.
Oh.
Darkwing Duck, I loved.
Yeah.
One episode, of course, when I was a kid, I always liked the weird episodes. The one where
Right.
Darkwing Duck gets out of his reality into the writer's reality. Do you remember that? And he goes to like the head office and like, what are you doing to my character? Do you
I don't
that one at
remember
all?
that.
He's like, this is not part of who I am or anything. And so he's like, oh, we're just trying to get episodes. for him.
Oh.
That one was pretty cool. I've always liked stuff like that. Even in comic books. Like where Superboy Prime is actually from our world, but he's in the superhero world, and that's why he's like the most powerful. Well, to me, I think he's the best villain. But Darkwing Duck was super cool.
I think this is a comic book world that we're living in currently.
Oh, I 100% agree with that.
I think that it's
super bizarre.
we created it. So technically you created the comic book writers created the comic book world. We created this world. So essentially we are not necessarily in superpowers. I mean, people could have superhuman powers. We just don't know. Or
Yeah.
they're hiding it or they're lying about it. But we created where we exist.
Back in the 80s, Alan Moore was one of the top writers. What he did to the comic book world was make the comic book world more gritty, like the real world. So like Batman's actually dealing with real world problems. And Grant Morrison, who's like the flip side of Alan Moore, he didn't understand why in the colorful world of superheroes would you ever want to make them dark at all. So what
Really?
yeah.
He just wanted them to be all
So
rainbows and unicorns.
yeah, so what he decided is if Alan Moore's trying to, he didn't really like, this is kind of like the whole idea behind it, is Alan Moore tried to make the comic book world like our world. And Grant Morrison tried to make our world like the comic book world. Let's make this vastly more interesting than just
Yeah.
dark and depressing. But that's
Well-
why when you read 80s comic books, like The Punisher is just dark. My family's dead. I need to avenge their death.
Right.
Everything's just dark and gloomy. And then
Yeah.
you get to the 90s, and it's just weird, out-of-the-box sort of style thinking. Like, if you ever get a chance to read any superhero story from the 90s, hands down, read Grant Morrison's JLA. It's only 40 issues long. It's probably a little bit less than that, maybe like 32 issues, because Mark Waid was a filler in some
Yeah.
of the issues. But it's the craziest stuff where Shazam and Kyle Reiner, the Green Lantern of that time, get out of this reality into the fifth dimension, and like they're pieces of paper. They have to combat that to figure out how to stop a villain. It's super cool
Whoa.
stuff.
Oh shit. There was this awesome video that someone sent our Twitter today, and it was it's this video of, it's called the coolest, hold on, let me see if I can find it.
Yeah.
It's called
Is it about comic books or anything?
No, it's about what we were talking about last week.
About time travel?
Yeah. So it's like this video of hold on, I'm messaging this guy, but it's this video it's about this. It's like basically what we were talking about last week. How so they would download the ego into like this USB drive or like some sort of drive, and then they would have a body. So the body would actually time travel, but and then your mind would like do something. I could probably pull up the video and live stream it to the thing, but it might take a minute.
What about the copyright issues on that stuff? Because I know on other podcasts, they have to have the camera turned so you can't see it. Like if it's articles and stuff, you can show that, but actual videos, I don't know if you can.
Well, we could just, when we upload it, we could just block.
Or just try to direct people to the Twitter to it.
Yeah. Here, I'll look it up.
So that way, if anything happens, we aren't infringing on anybody's rights or anything. Go to the Twitter and get a link from there.
Yeah, so it's called
The Poo Poo Platter. The third one down, Poo Poo Platter Obama.
I don't know, it might not show up. Yeah, I don't know, I'm not gonna waste the time.
That's all right. We'll just have slightly some slight dead air.
Yeah, we'll post it on I'll repost it on our Twitter. I'll post it on our Facebook so you can see. But it's like proof of what we were talking about. Or I guess it's not proof, but it is. It's a possibility of how time travel would be possible, or how transforming our consciousness as like a downloadable entity. But I don't know if that would actually work. Because like we were talking about, if your consciousness is a wavelength, how do you... I mean, I guess when you record... So when you record music is sound. And way back in the day, they learned how to transfer sound onto a piece of wax and then play that back. You know what I mean?
That is the craziest concept
I
to me.
still don't understand how it works.
I don't either. I think the only thing is like, if I'll use the nails on a chalkboard. So the reason why it would make a sound is because of how thick and long the nails are. And then when you hit on the chalkboard, the grooves, the little holes, the porous will make the noise to screech down, right?
Yeah.
That is what
that's a good
the needle's
analogy.
doing.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is, because what the wax used to be is straight up monotone. They found a way to make stereo where the left side of the groove is different than the right side of the groove. So when you're grinding across, it's picking up the different sounds. So when you actually have headphones on, that you can hear it in stereo.
Yeah.
It's weird to me.
Yeah, and I just don't understand. How the is it because it's waves, so they're transferring waves into the wax?
So the whole concept is like when I'm saying like scratching the needle.
Yeah.
The thing.
But how do you get
it?
how do you get a song that you recorded?
I have no idea. But
Like a kick drum, like a...
I guess maybe it's like when they can know when the needle's hitting across it. It's like it will make that boom, boom, boom. Because all that's really happening between the wax and the needle is just screeching noises.
Yeah.
It's just you're picking up the screeching noises as music.
Yeah. So I guess how time travel would work, or how so if your consciousness actually was a wave, like we talked about last week, if it was actually a wave, you could transfer that wave into something. But I guess the question with that would be, because you're forever existing, whereas a piece of music had a starting and a stopping point. So like it started with 1, 2, 3, 4, a song starts, then it ends. So it's finished. It's put onto a thing. So if your consciousness is a continuing thing, it'd be harder to record it onto a device to transfer, because it's constantly... It would be like...
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So like we're recording this podcast.
It's kind of like, yeah, and if we just kept talking forever.
Yeah, and it would keep recording, but it would never be put into a form where you can transfer it somewhere else.
Maybe that's it somehow, is you are recording it the entire time and then you die and then it can just be played back.
Yeah, but that's not the same as transferring your consciousness.
Well, I get that, but I'm just saying that maybe...
Yeah.
That could be a possibility.
Well, maybe that's how you can visit things in the past. When someone dies, they take all of their memories and all their stuff that, they existed, and then they can transfer that anywhere, like in the VR machine. That's how they put it in the VR machine. But I'm just trying to think of a scientific
approach to it.
Yeah, how it could be feasible, or how it could be possible, but I think it would have to be well, actually no. So like we're live streaming, so you can live stream, like if your consciousness is a wavelength, you can transfer that wave forever. So you're essentially living in that whole spectrum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like if we transfer our consciousness from here to Mars, we're existing on that whole thing.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this is why I don't believe in an afterlife like the traditional Bible one. Is because if you download your consciousness to a computer and you simultaneously, while you're still alive, and you switch on the computer, do you see out of the web camera simultaneously as you see out of your eyes? And the reason why I was bringing up the afterlife one is they're removing your consciousness out of your body. That every sort of experience that I've ever gathered here in this reality is based on this device, my body, through my sensory inputs. That they can't, well, you can say, well, it's God, he can do anything. I get that. But you're recreating it, and that's not me. So what I'm saying is, like, that's why I think if I ever, died and go to heaven, I don't think that it would actually physically be me. It would be a copy of me.
Right.
And the same kind of setup as if you put my consciousness into a computer or a different body to time travel, I'm not simultaneously seeing out of my eyes today in this reality as in the past or in the future or through a webcam.
Right.
And I don't know how, because all the things that I input through my sensory inputs, like touch and sight, smell, and all of them, is through this body, which contains my brain, which stores or encodes memories into this. So if I turn on the computer and I'm simultaneously seeing out of it, am I storing my memories on the computer or in this brain? So while this computer program or me in a different timeline with a different, my consciousness in something different, is it storing memories in this body?
Yeah, well, you just made me think of something cool. So what if our bodies, so our consciousness, our soul is a wavelength, and that wavelength is currently inhabiting this body. Well, so like a streaming camera, that camera can always stream, but you have to put an SD card in it in order to play it back and remember it. So like, what if our wavelength, our consciousness is in this body and our brain is like the SD card? So the brain is what's responsible for remembering things, planning things, and that sort of thing. But once this computer runs out and it can't store any information or whatever, then the wavelength just goes on, and either it continues streaming. But I guess then that would raise the question, what technically is keeping you I guess conscious and present and aware, or maybe you're always conscious and present and aware. So if we didn't have this body, if it was just our consciousness, we would be talking and whatnot. But then 10 minutes from now, we wouldn't be able to recall what we just, talked about. But we can still continue moving forward.
Yeah.
So your body, so a human body and a brain is actually just a storage device for information.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I might have mentioned this last week, is if you take a hammer and hit my hand, like let's say you just hit my finger, right? It feels like that my finger is the thing that got hit.
Yeah.
But everything external from your brain, like so your extremities, are all sensory inputs to the brain.
Right.
So what's happening is the pain that you're feeling is chemical reactions happening inside your brain. There actually isn't really a feeling going on in your finger. It's just your brain putting information to your finger hurting. So that's why it feels like your finger's hurting. But there's actually, this thing isn't really hurting. Because that's why when you get your hand cut off or an arm cut off or any sort of limb cut off, some people, like let's say for example you get your leg cut off, some people can actually feel Charlie horses in their foot. It's because what's going on is the brain doesn't know your foot is cut off. Right. So the information's still happening in your brain. That's why it feels like your foot is having a Charlie horse. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
because your body has to. Your body's not only a memory system, but it's also a sensory thing. It's what tells your consciousness, oh, this is what pain is, or this is what your hand is, and this sort, because it has to define what it actually is you're in, because before you were in your body, you were just a wave. You didn't know this body. So your body also updates the brain, the memory system. It's like an update. So then your wavelength is like, oh, okay. That's like when you're like a baby, you don't know what to do. You're just there. You're just a blob. People have to feed you. You have to learn how to walk and all this sort of stuff, because your body's like, oh shit, or your wavelength, your consciousness goes into this body, and it's like, oh shit, I don't know how to work all this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So it takes a minute for the computer to update.
Yeah, it's just like when you put if you take your hard drive from your computer and put it into a different laptop. Let's say you take this one out and put it into a different laptop. That sort of device. That sort of hard drive and memory system can still act in that computer, right?
Right.
But it's going to be a little different. Because maybe you had shortcuts and keys and different things into your PC, where the other one's trying to remember it. PCs might be a little dumb analogy, I guess, because you can still have all the shortcuts and keys. But that's what I always say is, like, let's say your consciousness was transferred into my body. That my body has been trained to draw a certain way. That if you try drawing in my body, you might actually surprise yourself on how it can draw. As where if I go inside your body and try drawing, you have not developed the skills in your body to actually draw. So it might be very difficult for me to do. Like I have all the knowledge and information to do so, but actually performing it, let's say like you go inside, Jimi Hendrix goes inside your body.
Right.
He's trained his body how to play music to the level he does. He wouldn't be able to do it to the level you do because your body hasn't been trained to do that sort of thing.
Right. Oh, someone just said, my friend, this guy Craig, so is memory constantly playing back to as well as in moment input?
Yes, and there's a book that I'm reading called Your Brain is a Time Machine, and that's exactly it. We simultaneously will talk about the future and memories within our own head.
Well, yeah, because everything, so to play on that, so I think that everything has to be, so you're continuously going, right? Consuming input, but you have to know what everything is defined as in order to continue to make the memories of
exactly. I'm not saying like, okay, let's remember how the show was last night. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how I can say the orange was sour, right? All those words you didn't have to learn just now to understand what I'm saying. So you have this past memory thing going in the future.
Right. So yeah, so everything that you've built memories, but those are contributing to what you're currently taking in. So we've never, let's say you and I have never been to Ireland before. So we go, it could be like, this is just an analogy I'm trying to think about. But so if you go to Ireland, you've never been to Ireland, you don't know the existence of Ireland. So when you get to Ireland, it's like, okay, I know trees, there's the tree. I know the sky, there's the sky. I know the sea, there's the sea, and all this stuff. And then you compute it all as Ireland. So then it's stored as all the what Ireland is and all the pieces of Ireland to define Ireland. Now, when you come back here, you know what Ireland is, and you have this memory of it stored in your brain. But I wonder if your consciousness leaves your body, so after death and your wave goes on, do you forget all the previous definitions of everything?
That's kind of like what I want to know, because I truly think that just like a piece of vinyl that we were talking about is ingrained. Every single, like if you get a CD, they're all going to be the same. But if you buy, let's say you buy two of the exact same records from, let's just say Dark Side of the Moon. You buy two Dark Side of the Moon records, the original pressings, you might, if you want, you can buy the new ones, but two original pressings, they're not going to sound the same, because of how many times somebody listens to it. The weight of the needle is on it. That's kind of like how our body is.
What's the name of that? Transferal,
I have no idea. I have not.
Yeah, like on some, there's this, I forget which Zeppelin album it is, but you can hear like talking and stuff in the background. There's like transference noise or something like that. It's like this fan that we have blowing on us. Sweet. It's like this fan blowing on us. Like that's a subtle sound but it'll be picked up, in recording and stuff.
Yeah, and then that's how I feel like our bodies are. Because our mind is still the same thing that our bodies are. That it's just ingraining into this specific body.
Right.
All the memories. That's why I say if you put our consciousness into a different body or into a robot, that is not us. That is just a copy of what you would consider memories. It's not really us, because this is what makes us us. It's just like if you have the vinyl and you try like, okay, well, it is the same vinyl. It's just a copy of the same thing. But it's not that specific one, because that one might have had a beer spilt on it, which changes the sound. Or this one might never been into its dust sleeve and it's got dust all over it. It's different sounds, but it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because our bodies, actually what our brains are, is a prediction machine. Everything you do is to make predictions. Like the reason why like a newborn fly is extremely difficult to capture is because you can't predict where it's going. So if you drop something, you try to grab it, you kind of know that, let's say if you drop something, you're not going to reach to the left to grab it.
Right.
But you'll see kids who do things that their prediction machine isn't working right. That's why they drop things constantly, or they knock over their drink. It's because they haven't built up enough information to make accurate.
Well, yeah, they don't know what's going to happen if that falls. That Tony guy who sent us that Twitter message with that link to that thing, he just started watching. Tony, you should post that a link to that so that we can see it. because that's kind of what we're talking about, the transferring your consciousness into bodies and stuff. But so my question though is, so when you die and your wavelength, granted, and this kind of goes along with Scientology, what are those things called inside of us?
Ooh, I don't know.
Zoa or Zoe or some.
I always think of the Star Wars things. Well, remember we were talking about what they have in Star midi-chlorians?
Yeah. But what is it called in
I don't know what it is in Scientology at all.
Scientology inner thing?
Like their essence?
Yeah. Whatever that is, that's kind of
Curix?
no, that's from South Park.
Yeah, that's why I said it.
That's how they measure shit.
Yeah, Curix. Yeah.
Because of Katie Couric.
Yeah.
Bono has the most Courics because he actually is shit. Or is it Bono or who is it?
Yeah, it's him because he was never human. He just manifested into a human form from a turd.
Practices. Yeah, Scientology is a body of religious beliefs and practices launched in blah 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 blah. Dianetics, blah 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 blah. Scientology symbol.
And you're reading it verbatim. It actually does say blah blah blah.
Yeah, Logos, Skyo, Hubbard's groups. I don't know. I can't.
They take that machine. It's like.
Is there really a machine?
No, that was in South Park. Remember?
Oh.
Did you see the Scientology episode?
I don't know.
Where they try to convert Stan into Scientology, and it's like this machine, like, whoa, what's going off the radar, like because of him, and he's supposed to be like the Jesus Christ version of Scientology.
Yeah. Well, I can't find the name of the thing, but anyways,
we'll just call it Curix.
Yeah. Okay, Curix. So whatever Scientology is, whatever that thing that your zenith or whatever it is inside of you that you have to keep happy, which is actually a fragment of like some alien that came out of a volcano. I think that's kind of like a synopsis of the story.
Yeah.
But so anyways, so getting back to your consciousness and your wavelength. So my question is so if when your consciousness leaves your body, or we call it a wavelength, we're just calling it a wavelength.
Okay.
So when your wavelength leaves your body, do you get to bring all that information that was stored in your brain with you, or does it just dissolve?
I, first off, have no idea because I do not know what happens after you die. But what I think happens is you do not take it with you.
Yeah.
I think that because all the stuff is stored here in this body, that it's just like, does light really carry information?
No, it illuminates information.
Yeah, and we put meaning to it.
Right.
That's how I feel the consciousness wave is.
Okay. Well,
because it does it. Remember how we talked about how your body's kind of like a TV?
Yeah.
That's kind of how it is. The signal is out there for the TV, and it makes no sense until you have a device to make sense of it.
Right.
That's our body. We're making sense of it. So
yeah.
But when you're dead, the wave just goes on. Yeah. So you can't. So let's say you die and your wave's just floating on through the ether. You don't have memories. You're not thinking about.
Yeah,
things.
You're just a consciousness.
Correct. Because you don't have your sensory organs to see and things like that.
And the definitions that you stored to build up. So I know we've talked about this before, but so for like reincarnation, there's stories like sometimes when babies are born or young children, they have memories of a past life.
Yeah. I would think I mentioned that on one of these podcasts too about mine and what my mom said.
Yeah. So could that be, so like back to the vinyl thing. So that church noise or that noise the unintended transference, the transference noise or whatever it's called, of like, you can subtly hear it, but if a singer is in the microphone booth singing a song and they squeak their chair, that little squeak gets transferred onto the vinyl. You can barely hear it. So could the concept of reincarnation, and when a child has a memory of a previous life, could that be kind of that, like somehow or another, a memory from your
was etched into the wave?
Yes, somehow etched into the wave as like noise, and that's what it is. You're like picking up on something else. Or could it also be? Yeah, the boy that was from Mars. Tony just asked about the boy that was from Mars. Yeah, he can like explain things about Mars and knows all this all this crazy information. And I think it was before we even knew anything about Mars. And this kid knew all this shit, and it actually came true. So like that kind of thing, but that could be like an alien realm. Like,
well, yeah, because we could still technically be part of an alien consciousness. It's just what we are in our receiving body as human.
Yeah.
But
So
you could have etchings in your consciousness.
yeah, or what if also like how they're picking up on, and I think we talked about this before, but how they're picking up on on these memories that of a previous life when like we've talked about before, when a baby's born, however many wavelengths are up in the that's in the hospital. If you die in the hospital, your wavelength goes up and gets stuck into the ceiling or some shit. It can't leave the hospital. But so like, what if when you die and then a baby's born, it gets sucked into your wave gets sucked into that, because there's some sort of polarity with the body, like magnetism. So like a new body being born is like a magnet to the consciousness wave, so that gets zapped in there. Then it has to take all this time to remember how to do things and this and that. Well, what if usually they try to grab one wavelength, but sometimes they grab one in like a fragment of another.
I thought about that too.
Yeah, so there's kind of like a weird,
crossing between, almost like you're still 90% the same, but you're grabbing 10% of a different. Because here's the thing is like, okay, so in my family, my mom's side of the family is all musicians. They really love music, but nowhere in my family that I know of like an artist, is like a traditional, like
a painter.
Yeah, anything like that. Why do I have that? Maybe I got like a small percentage of a different consciousness piece into me that was an artist in a prior life.
Yeah, something. Or it's just your way. Maybe there's different consciousnesses or consciousnesses.
Consciousness-I.
Consciousness-y.
Consciousness. That's when you have neurosis of the consciousness.
Oh, jeez. But anyways, consciousness. Certain waves are prone to certain things. So your wave, like in sound, there's a sine wave, saw wave, square wave, triangle wave, bunch of different waves. Maybe the polarity or the magnetism kind of like, there's four basic, there's one basic sound wave, but there's different kinds. So maybe like consciousness, there's different waves of consciousness, and each one are more prone to certain aspects of like this particular life. Like if you break down the basics of kind of like jobs or interests in life, it's like, like art, which could be like music, or there's like business, or like strategic, or like mathematics, or like thinking. So each person has their own, preordained thing of what they're going to be drawn to in the beginning. So that, and then that kind of like shapes, and I guess your awareness of it, your awareness of it is kind of how it shapes you, whether you're going to be a musician or a philosopher or something like that.
I've been having these thoughts about how if you die, you kind of go back into the same body and relive your life again. That's kind of like how deja vu happens a little bit. But it's never 100% the exact same every single time. And I was thinking, like, let's say there's a person out there that is kind of for you, but let's say this person in this reality is 90 years old right now, and you just never match up with them. And then you die, and then let's say you're 90 years older than they are, and then so on and so forth until the realities kind of like bounce back until you're supposed to like meet, kind of like let's say like you and your girlfriend, right? Like maybe in some reality that you've lived before, she was just born in the 1800s, that sort of thing. And I was thinking about that as like, why do you have like these weird connections with people, like friends, like the friends that I grew up with? We used to joke around about how like, why are we all together, why are we all friends, and like, through like even how different we each are, why are we friends? That type of thing. Well, people can say, okay, well, you just grew up. And we had this idea that maybe like during World War II or something, that we're all part of like the team. We just all died together and we reincarnated, and like somehow we're together, and then that's why we have this bond.
Well, I think that there's some things that are meant to be. You're meant to meet certain people, but I think that kind of falls under a different concept than what we're talking about. I think that.
Well, the whole consciousness thing, what I was talking about is like your consciousness keeps going back into the same body.
Right.
It's just the conditions are different in which you live. Type of thing.
Well, and if you think about it, so, my friend Joe just said consciousness can become distorted. Yeah, I think that it definitely could be. I think the point of this specific life is to undistort consciousness. I think that in the beginning, your consciousness is always distorted because you're playing on. Going back to like the brain thing of memories being memories being definitions, and that's how the wavelength of your consciousness defines things. So when you're born and you grow up, you have all these predefined definitions that were given to you by people that were given to them by something else. You know what I mean? So like when you're born and you're 5, your parents tell you that you believe in God and that you are a Christian. But then going through life, the point of going through life is building your own definitions that your consciousness is fine with. So maybe you go through life and you're like, I don't really want to be a Christian. I don't really buy into that. I want to convert to Catholicism. So then you change that definition. So your consciousness is undistorting the preordained definitions. So then I think that the purpose of life could be to get your consciousness or your wavelength to the most undistorted, most clear thinking. And I think that like meditation and Buddhism and all that stuff, that's what that is alluding to. It's to stripping yourself of the ego, stripping yourself of all that junk and all that noise that was given to you, and getting to where you're comfortable in that sort of thing.
It's like deconditioning yourself,
right?
Because you get all these conditions. That's why, remember how we always talk about how are you like in your 40s and you're just doing the same thing over and over and over and over again,
right?
Without even trying to make yourself, like when people say they don't like reading, it just blows my mind.
I don't think they don't necessarily like reading. I think that is they don't have the attention,
or I think that they've been so conditioned that they don't understand how conditioned they are, so they don't challenge their own conditioning.
Yeah.
And so that this is what they do. Like, the reason why I believe in this is because my grandfather believed in it and my father believed in it, so I believe in it. That sort of thing. And they just never broke the chain of,
right.
Like, why was I conditioned to believe this when everything else tells me otherwise?
Right. And I think that's just because a general, either lack of laziness or not caring to understand, which is perfectly fine. If you don't want to try to understand all this or understand all that. Rob's drawing. Oh, yeah, in the background. Oh, good eye. One of the listeners, this guy, Rob, from St. Louis, he drew it at a Ioto show, and someone just said Rob's drawing, and that's in the background. Cool. Yeah, I wanted to feature that. I love that drawing, by the way. I think it's a perfect depiction of kind of what this podcast is about, trying to figure it out, pondering, looking in the eye, any that sort of thing. But what were we talking about? Anyways, it doesn't. It's. I think that's different. The, kind of, because your consciousness, you're trying to shape it. And undistort it and get it to a point that's happy for you. And some people don't want to, which is fine. Yeah. That's what we were talking about. Yeah. Some people may just not care, or they're fine with what's going on, and that's perfectly fine too. But for people who, want to gain higher understanding, and understand what we are, what we came from, I think that's kind of undistorting your wavelength.
Some part of me is like, is it worth it? Because you'll never know.
Yeah, but here's my thing. I think that it could quite possibly be the stronger you get closer to understanding and that sort of thing, maybe the more stronger your wavelength gets. So we think we've talked about this before, but the more stronger your wavelength gets, the more you can maybe navigate when you leave this body, so that you can either, because maybe if you're a weak wavelength, you get sucked in easier to reincarnation. But maybe if you're a stronger wavelength, then you can control more where you go after this. So like if you spend this whole time building up your wavelength and figuring out how to navigate the next plane, then then when you leave, you won't get sucked in. You're not a weak magnetic signal, you're your own signal.
Would you want to go back?
What do you mean, go back in time? Or go back?
No, go like, okay, so your wavelength is just floating through the ether, but you have some sort of direction to where it goes. And you're faced with the choice of going back into a human body to experience, the future. Or would you just still be a floating conscious entity?
I think that I would want to come back.
I don't know if I would want
Well,
to
what
come
it
back.
would depend on what I could do, what you could do at
But
that level.
because you don't have any control. So it's either you choose and you just get the luck of the draw. You might be the world's best person or the world's worst person, that sort of thing. Would you go back and do it, knowing that you have no idea what will happen?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question.
Because like I think we mentioned this before. Like I like being me a lot and understanding who I am and my emotions.
But there's a
and
chance
stuff.
that you wouldn't come back as you.
No, you're not coming back as you at all. Like that's already been done and played with. But I mean, like you coming back is, just it's just something. I don't know. I just don't want to be anybody else.
Yeah, that's why I think that maybe I would probably choose to not come back as anything or anyone. I would just choose to float around in the ether. Because maybe there's some. Because technically, if the wavelength thing is true and your brain as an SD card is true, when you're up there, you're still conscious of what's going on. You're just not going to remember.
Yeah.
So when you're in the ether as a wave, just, coasting along, you're still like, man, this is cool. Like, look down there, look at those people. This is all cool looking and stuff. You're just not going to remember it. But you're still, you're ultimately.
That's like the present now.
Yeah, it's like ultimately you have officially been, you are now in the moment. There's no other truer being in the moment than releasing memory and releasing definition and getting rid of that. And shedding your body and just becoming in the now.
Yeah, that's why when people say they know for sure, 100% certain that they know it happened before and after this life.
Yeah.
I just can't subscribe to that because it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, my friend Joe said identity of the conscious mind is perhaps never recognized or realized for a lot of people, particularly those who not read. Yeah, I think that you could be like we talked about, you're preordained with all these thoughts and definitions. But if you don't read and formulate your own ones, then you're just going to be what you're given.
Yeah, you're just a programmed machine.
You're a stock car. You don't want to like upgrade your car with better exhaust or better.
Yeah, to make the performance better.
Yeah, to make the performance better, give it oil changes on time to make it last longer and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I also think earlier to what you were talking about, how people are kind of how like you felt destined to meet the friends you are, like you in a previous life you were in World War II or something. That could be true, but I think another thing to think about that could quite be possible is like how I was talking about before, how our consciousness are different wavelengths but different, so we gravitate towards something, being a musician or an artist or a philosopher or what have you. The reason that we meet the people we do is because we're on similar wavelengths. Like people that like music, of course they're going to meet each other because they have to be in a band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why they're drawn together, and then it just so happens that you believe in these other things.
But how is it, like, because you won't know, right? So let's say, for an example, like you first met me, right? And you had no idea I thought this way or was into music or into art, nothing. But for some reason, you're just like, okay, just by like surface level communications, you kind of got it. Is it like maybe like we all resonate at a certain frequency, like sports people? Like they operate at a different, it's like when you meet somebody, but they just look normal, right? They're just wearing blue jeans and they'll say a shirt.
Right.
Guy or a girl. But they're super into sports.
Right.
And they just talk to you, but they don't mention sports. Like, I don't know if I like them or not. Not saying that I don't like people that don't like sports. I'm just saying, like, you can feel like a weird resonance between them.
Right.
And then you start to get to know them better. You're like, oh, that's the reason why. It's because they think this way.
Right. But the initial wavelength, the vibration is why. Well, I think it's just, I think the setting is the initial reason that you met, right? Like when I met you, you needed a job, we knew the same person, so you were there, and then you worked there, and then we started talking, like I was a manager at a restaurant, you wanted to work at a restaurant for less responsibility or whatever, so we were put in the same setting, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, before we started talking about like this sort of stuff, it still felt like, because we were just joking around about stupid stuff at first, and then eventually it's like, I don't know, what I'm saying is like maybe there is something to that. If you do enjoy art, like you said, art people attract art people, and art could be like painting and music, just art is in general.
Right.
They do resonate because they have to build a band, that
Right.
type of thing. Whereas like if somebody that you met was into sports, it doesn't really feel fit. Like you might be best friends with somebody that's in, but like it's not I don't know how to explain it. honestly, because I don't want to make it sound like that the people that like sports aren't interesting. That's not it at all. Because if somebody is highly interested in sports or interested in sports, and they talk to me about like how I can talk about comic books, like how I'm interested in like the card stock, like the pages, the printing, like all that sort of stuff, but they talk about it like the baseball version, I'll be highly interested in listening to them talk about it. But I'm just saying like they're on a different frequency, so you don't really talk to them about certain things. You don't really develop into that sort of aspect, which is kind of like duh.
Right.
Because if somebody's not going to be interested in talking about that we're on a rock floating through space in seemingly meaninglessness,
Right.
they're not going to talk to you about it.
Well, I think that's just all has to do with luck and just pure happenstance and setting. You were put in this randomly. You met someone at a quick trip, man, and then you ran into them, and then they noticed, hey, I noticed you got some comics in your car. I love comics. That was just chance. That was,
Yeah.
or it could have been, if it winds up being some dude who's a awesome colorer because you hate coloring comics, that I would say that's probably kind of a offering from the universe, or you put in enough time and enough thought that you manifested that person.
Yeah, I've been thinking about the whole manifesting thing. If I'm going to go off on that just for like a quick second, is manifesting things that you want, but you weren't specific at them, that they gave you what you want, but there's an aspect of it that's going to be a struggle to maintain it, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
like, let's say for example, you ask the universe to be an artist, right? Like, okay, well, I'm an artist and I want that to be my profession. Well, you weren't so specific on it that you didn't realize how much time of your life is going to be spent doing it.
Right.
You weren't like, okay, I want to be an artist, but I want to make it like my 9-to-5 job.
Right.
But all you did was just ask the universe for one specific thing, rather than trying completely specific. I think that was my mic or my headphone cable.
Oh, that's weird.
'Cause I keep fidgeting with it.
I think that's what's making the pop.
I think so too. Yeah. So
because
I'm gonna stop touching it.
yeah, I think that the popping is coming from that thing going in there. I don't know.
Yeah. So if you weren't so specific, the universe is like, okay, we're going to give you kind of what you asked for, but we're going to make it in such a way that you have to struggle to actually truly achieve it. Like, I don't think the universe gives you anything. I think they just provide you with opportunities to get it.
Right.
If that makes sense.
No, it does.
Like, okay, so you want to talk about stuff. Okay, well, we'll just make, we'll have this podcast, right? And then you're like, okay, it's really easy making a podcast, but then you realize all the logistics of it is actually a little more difficult than you anticipated, which is usually with everything. But I'm just saying, like, I've been thinking about that. It's like, okay, well, if you ask the universe next time, just be really more specific.
Right.
Kind of like a genie. You ask a genie for, like a paradise island. So the genie gives you a paradise island, but on there's no food. It's just the island's just what you consider paradise.
Right.
And so you have no food and you're just gonna starve. That's why I always think like when you watch Aladdin, it's kind of wrong because I've always grown up with thinking that genies are manipulative. Like they give you what you want, but in such a way it's actually a negative wish.
Right. There's an episode of Twilight Zone, the old Twilight Zone, that's like that. There's a genie and this guy, he's like, well, you have 3 wishes, and he's like, well, I want more wishes or something, and he's like, no. So he gets 3 wishes, but each wish is like, so he's like, I want to be rich. So then he makes him rich. He gives him all this money, and then I can't remember the exact context of it, but basically it's implying that when you wish for something, you don't really know what you're wishing for. You're wishing for like a general non-specific thing, like you said, an island. Oh, I wish that I lived on a beautiful island. Well, he puts you on an island, but then there's no food, there's nothing that you can survive. So you have to be, well, I wish that I was on an island that had enough food to sustain me for the rest of my life, and there was this and that on it,
Yeah, just make it oddly specific.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel like asking the universe is. But the universe, I don't think, plays cruel jokes on you. It's just a reason, like, I think a genie plays a cruel joke on you. I think the universe is more giving you exactly what you asked for.
Yeah. Well, my friend Joe just said it's a bargain with the devil. And I think that could, I don't necessarily know if it's the devil, but I think that it could be a bargain with good and evil.
Yeah, when I think of the devil, it's like two ideas come to that my mind about the devil. Is the devil is either the idea of pure evil, and if that's what you're going on, that's perfectly fine. But remember, the devil's an angel.
Right, a fallen angel, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Which they took out of the fucking Bible. That whole story of Lucifer and the devil is the Book of Enoch, which I've been like reading a lot of stuff. They found part of the Book of Enoch in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and for some reason or another, they decided to keep it out of the Bible because it talks about the war between angels and demons and Lucifer falling from the sky, from the heavens, and being made a bad person and that whole thing. But it also talks about how Enoch went up and spent 3,000 years with this entity, which of course they believe is aliens, and then came back down to earth and walked with God and all this sort of thing. But yeah, he was. I think that the story of Lucifer, the story of the devil, is a story of what can is. It's a parable to what can happen if you lose sight of what's good. You become evil, and then you're the definition of evil. Evil.
Yeah, to me, I view it as Lucifer had no free will over the matter. Lucifer was created by God,
right,
to fulfill God's plan.
Yeah.
So devil is just writing the plot of what God wrote.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cruel in itself.
Right. Well, the Tony guy just kind of brought up an interesting point. He said Satan represents individualism for a lot of people. I think that maybe what that could possibly mean is kind of like, so let's think of the church way back in the day, or the beliefs. So you're a Christian, right? And there's thou shalt not kill my neighbor, thou shalt not cheat, thou shalt not steal, whatever. So the person that breaks one of those commandments becomes an individual because he's not part of the collective whole. We all have these agreed upon morals and laws and standards in which we live by. And then so someone who goes and kills, they pull out of the whole and become an individual. They're choosing to be an individual because they chose to go against the norms of what we believed in, so they killed someone. So that's kind of like the reference to Satan.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
See, the whole idea behind those morals and codes that people hold as a high standard doesn't make really good sense to me, because...
Well, they're just definitions that we had to...
Well, you can say, thou shalt not murder. Where, fleets of Christians just murdered tons of people.
Right.
Like, there's a difference between killing and murdering.
Right.
Type of thing. So it kind of gets, like, loosely based. But while you're talking about that, I was thinking, okay, well, that kind of makes sense, because I view religion as more of a social control aspect rather than an afterlife belief. Because it really doesn't talk about the afterlife. It really talks about social control and how you should live your life as Jesus, basically.
Right.
That it's just what they're trying to do is make you cookie cutter, and like the whole idea of, okay, well, being the devil or Satan is individualism, because you're not being part of the whole anymore.
Right.
Now you're taboo. This is wrong.
Right.
Type of thing. So like anybody who goes against the social norm is going to be completely evil.
Right, because you're becoming an individual, and I think that for the '60s or when drugs became a thing. It was going against the norms because people taking psychedelics or going to dance at music festivals or shows and get high and all that kind of thing. They were going against the norms. So of course, well, they're bad. They're Satan. They're being individuals. So and that's why I always think that those kinds of beliefs. Sure, people can have those beliefs, but it's time to revisit them. Just like we always talk about the 9-to-5 work week. It's time to revisit that shit because it was made in the 1920s. Last night at Joe Rogan, he talks about what was he talking about in his skit about something that was made a long time ago, and what was he do you remember what I'm talking about?
I know the context of
presidency.
Oh yeah,
presidency.
Yeah. He's like, you guys haven't created. I don't want to give away his bits, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like, yeah, I won't do like the funny thing of it, but yeah like how it's just. Why is it still the same way?
Right.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back in a couple minutes. In the meantime, we have a little song set up to be played. If I can get it queued up. Oh, where'd it go? There it is. But we're going to take a short break. I need to refill. Well, you said we're going to take a short break.
Will I say?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll take a short break. We'll just keep repeating it until we actually take the short break. We're gonna repeat the short break. Repeat it. We're gonna take one, and then repeat it.
Repeating short break.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll be back.
Is that it?
Yeah.
And we're back.
We're back. My dad said he got on. He said, "Are you guys live? The signal dropped out or something." I wonder if people can still hear it and see it. I hope so. I hope it didn't mess something up. If anyone just wants to comment and say yes or no if the video and the audio is back. What did you think about that show last night?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I thought the stuff that like we talk about, like my roommate and I, we just heard him kind of say, so it was kind of like reassuring. I will say though, like I said, I don't want to give away like, any of his bits or anything like that, but I think that the theme of this one was to be slightly offensive.
Yeah.
Because like the whole idea of it being strange, and so he's gonna say all these things because he's not normally like that. But I'm not saying it was bad at all. I just think that like that's exactly to me what comedy is showing you the side of absurdity of things where people take too seriously.
Right.
That's the whole idea of it. So that I actually really enjoyed it. Honestly, maybe it's because my expectations weren't high.
Yeah, I was going into it, and we're talking about the Joe Rogan show. Did I already mention that?
I don't think so.
Oh, yeah. We went and saw Joe Rogan last night do a live stand-up. It was pretty good. But, yeah, so I was watching his special on Netflix, one of his specials. and it was weird because we listen to his podcast and watch his podcast, and he has like a different mentality, a different aura about him when he's talking.
Yeah, one thing you mentioned was he'll have like his normal voice on the podcast, and then when it comes to stand up, it's slightly higher pitched.
Right. But it was you get to see a different. Look at Kane. You get to see a different. Come here, bub. You get to see a different side of him, and it was just weird though because he's so very esoteric and very well spoken and stuff on his podcast, but then live, he's just kind of like a crazy person.
Yeah, he's surprisingly flexible.
It's distorting, apparently.
Oh, because I'm fucking touching shit.
I don't know if that could be the reason.
I need to get something like, I don't want a fucking fidget spinner, but I need something to make my hands.
I think that fidget spinners are funny because they're supposed to be something to occupy your hands so you don't always grab for your phone. But I saw people on their phone with their fidget spinners.
Really?
It's like almost ultimate. I have to be doing something.
Yeah, normally what I'll do is like sit here and take my fingernails and rub them underneath the other fingernail type of thing, or just touch certain things, but I'm not really fidgety. Like outside of doing this, like because I notice I'll sit here and just wrap up the cable and everything. I don't do that outside of what I'm doing here. Probably because I don't sit down long enough, And if I am sitting down, it's going to be with a pencil.
Right. Drawing.
Yeah. One thing that I noticed since I moved is I haven't been playing music, and it kind of bums me out.
You haven't been playing music?
No, like all my calluses are kind of soft.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I go through phases where I play guitar a lot or I'll play keyboard a lot. It's just, but I think my drive to do it and my want to do it all circles around how my day goes. If it's a Monday through Friday, it completely is reliant on how my day goes. But for the weekends, I work on stuff all day long. I could work on music all day long. I'm happy, whatever, because I'm not tied down to this, this. And we're not going to get into that again because we beat it like a dead horse.
Beat it off like a dead horse.
Yeah. He said they're a source of attention. People want others to notice them for spinning. Yeah, exactly. Oh, is that a new fidget spinner? Where'd you get that fidget spinner? Look at how good I am at my fidget spinner. Sweet, dude. You're good at spinning around a piece of plastic on your fucking finger.
It's like the pre-tech deck.
Yeah. Ooh.
The post-tech deck.
Post-tech deck. Ooh,
Yeah.
I love tech decks.
Yeah.
Dude, those were awesome. But that actually took skill. Like to do a kickflip on a tech deck, a real kickflip was so hard.
Yeah, the heel flip was like almost impossible.
Yeah, I loved the tech deck half pipes and stuff because you could go up and do like Christ dares and do like impossibles and stuff you couldn't do
in real life.
Oh, dreams. Let's do a dream segment.
Okay, cool. Because I had some of the craziest dreams.
Okay,
recently.
Really?
Yeah.
Let me just rattle mine off real quick.
Yeah.
So because this was last night, and this is a reoccurring dream. I always have these dreams where I'm skateboarding. I'll be at an unfamiliar park and I'm asking people, where's, how are the best runs or the pipes or whatever. But I had this dream last night at this new skate park and it was like the concrete wasn't 100% dry yet, but I was doing all these tricks and stuff. And usually before in my dreams, when I've had skateboarding tricks, or when I've had skateboarding dreams, I can't kickflip. I can barely ollie. I can't. And I used to be an okay skateboarder. I could do, hard flips, 360 flips, do shit in the half pipe. I was a pretty good skateboarder. And, I would probably say a year ago, 6 months ago, when I would have dreams about skateboarding, I sucked. I was terrible. I could not do anything. So then in real life, I went and bought a skateboard, went to the skate park. I did okay, for the first time. For the first time in a long time, and I did okay. I had fun or whatnot. But last night I had a dream of a skate park, and I was doing tricks that I couldn't even do in real life. And skateboarders at the skate park were like, "Whoa, man, what kind of trick was that? What was that?" And I was doing all this shit that I couldn't do in real life, and I can't do in real life. And it was weird because I feel that maybe the skateboarding thing was some aspect of my life that I felt either I was losing a grasp on, or that I wanted to know more about, and now I either got a grasp on it or I'm learning more about it. Something, you know what I kind of mean?
Yeah.
I'm falling short in my dreams, but now in reality, but now in my dreams, I'm hitting it and doing stuff I've never even done before. So it's just weird how, and I feel like there's a lot of dreams that are kind of like symbolic of that. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to just be doing something. But so, what was your dream?
Mine's not too terribly weird for this one, but I had a dream where all my hair was cut off, and I was kind of upset about it because it's going to take me years to get it back, and I didn't want to do the years again. And it was like the haircut, everybody pretty much has, was like the short haircut, like you slick it back on top.
My haircut, the coif.
Yeah, is that what?
Well, I don't have a coif because I don't put shit in my hair. But
yeah, I put it was like all slicked back.
The uniform look. So I'm a uniform, good little human being going to my job.
So I had that, and then my niece was in it, and she wanted me to line the back of her hair up, so I was cutting it, and I was just kind of sad. But when you're saying like the whole meanings of it, because that was the whole dream. It was just my hair was short, all my hair was gone, and I was like, fuck, I'm gonna have to grow it out again, which sucked because I hate the awkward stages of it and everything. But I think what it was is the meaning behind it is this change that I had in the dream, which is going back to how it used to look, is a way that I don't want to view myself. I don't want to go back to that, and I identify more with how my life is like progressing, because I'd say there's some pretty cool stuff happening in my life currently. This even though you're like your life has different things here and there that you wish you could change, but like for the most part how it's progressing through time I actually really enjoy. As if I go back a couple of years ago, I didn't really enjoy what was going on or anything. So maybe that's what the whole dream was.
Yeah, you don't want to. You've got to a point where you don't want to turn around.
Yeah,
and
I think I want to keep going forward rather than digress on things.
Oh yeah, Joe just said I consistently have dreams about getting in fights and my punches do nothing. I have it all the time.
Or you miss. And
Yeah. No, but it's like I'll have these dreams where like for some reason I'm in a fight with someone and I'm just like nailing their head and it's not affecting them. Like nothing's happening.
It's like a squeak.
Yeah. And I don't know why that shit happens, and I don't know what that means. I think maybe what that could mean is like you're not giving something your all. You have some sort of either like a task or an idea or an activity or something, and you're just not giving it your all, so you can't really hit it as hard as you want.
I hate violent dreams. Every time I have violent dreams, it's like in my dream, like it being violent like that, like you're trying to stab somebody with a butter knife or just hit them with your fist or something.
Right.
That in the moment I'm just so angry and so heated. Like I'm not like that in real life at all. Like I don't get angry to the point of screaming at somebody or want to hit or break anything. When I get angry, I just start laughing. First, I just completely think everything just breaks down in my head and everything becomes extremely humorous to me. But so, like when I wake up and I've had like those dreams like you're explaining, I just get like bummed out. Like, man, is that still part of like some sort, like not really still, but is that a part of me that like I haven't like. Do I want to be aggressive? Am I actually angry? Like that sort of thing. Because it's not. Like I'm not that way at all. But in the whole scheme of things, it's just a dream.
Yeah, I don't know. Running too, when you're trying to run away from someone.
So every time I try to run away from somebody in my dreams, it inevitably ends up turning into I can't run fast enough.
Right.
So I get on all fours.
Yeah.
I just run like a cheetah. Do you ever do that?
Yeah, like my legs do not work the right way.
And they're coming up
and
closer.
I'm like, and I'm trying to like get down and run, and it doesn't work. Yeah, I don't know what it is.
But as soon as I get down my all fours, I can cruise. I wonder if it's some sort of like, because our DNA has these tags of past memories. It's like because I personally think where we came from, because you can say, okay, well we have the ancestor of monkeys is similar, even though it's really chimpanzees. That if what goes beyond that, I think what we were during dinosaurs, because mammals were still around during dinosaur times, is moles. So I think we were like mole people.
Yeah.
So like maybe that was one of them. Like dinosaurs trying to eat the shit out of us, so we're just running on all fours. So it's like some part of us.
I think that what you said, fragments of other parts of our DNA from our evolution stick around.
Yeah.
I think that's totally true because parts of your mom's DNA are in you and parts of your dad's. So I
Even
think
their experiences too.
is there any scientific actual evidence, or has there been like a scientific test that actually supports that? Like, have they ever
the
looked?
experiences?
No, not experiences, but like, have they ever like looked at DNA? Like in episodes of the X-Files, there'll be like a weird creature or whatever that Mulder and Scully find. There'll be like some weird creature, and Scully will be like, Mulder, there's traces of cheetah blood in his DNA. Like that sort of thing. I wonder, has there ever actually been a scientific study or like a scientific thing? I mean, I'm sure there has, that they found animal DNA or some sort of
Yeah.
so it's a thing.
Yeah, like how they say, because we share this 49% of the exact same genetic coding as a banana.
Oh yeah, I have heard that.
And then I think we have like close to 70 to 80% of a housefly.
Right.
And then like 99% of a chimpanzee. So, yeah, and that actually has been a study on it as well with mice. You ever hear about that?
No.
They have a conditioned group and a non-conditioned group, control group and a non-control. So the control group, they don't do anything to these mice, and the other group, right before they hear this sound, they do a slight electric pulse on the floor to shock them, and they do this repeatedly. Well, what they do is they take their children, their offspring, and then it's like they do this sound, and then the electrical pulse will hit. Well, to the condition, the ones that didn't have the sound or anything like that, what they'll do is to their offspring play the noise, and they react the same way as their parents did. But the ones that had the electrical shock on these mice, they'll freeze up for a second, even though there's not going to be a shock.
Huh.
So it's showing that your parents and grandparents and so on down the line experiences will make you behave a certain way in your body.
Yeah. I've definitely heard about that. About I think it's sea turtles or something, when they did an experiment with sea turtles. So when sea turtles hatch on land, they have to run to the water real quick before they get gobbled up by birds. And they'll hatch sea turtles in a controlled environment and then put like a fake bird, like a shadow or whatever, and they'll do the same thing. They'll freak out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like a fight or flight response.
In them, yeah, it's
through evolution.
Why? So in the book that I'm reading, like I said, it's called "Your Brain is a Time Machine," where they say we have future memory and past memory. Why are squirrels gathering nuts?
Because they need to eat.
Exactly, but do they have a memory or the idea of concept in the future they'll need to eat?
No, I think.
Or is it instinctual?
I think it's instinctual.
Remember, maybe that thing that Joe Rogan was saying is like you hide a cat from the outside world, and they're still like
right, yeah.
And like you show like I won't give away that part, but that's kind of how it is. Okay, and that's saying that like we do things because we can obviously think 5 years ahead of time and plan for things, but where does the instinct of a squirrel to gather acorns come from? It's in their genetic coding to do it. Why do sea turtles have to run to shore? From shore to the sea.
Right.
It's because it's built in them.
Right. I think that if you were to do that with a human, if you were to born a human and put them in a controlled environment and put the necessary thing, well, maybe not a baby. I don't think a baby would have the ability to survive without a mother or someone to take care of it. But if you put it, if you raise the child, whatever, I don't know if it would work, and you showed them water and food, they would probably just naturally drink the water and eat the food.
Yeah.
Because it's a need for their, to survive. They would just feel like, oh, well, I think I need that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of like, why is alcoholism really passed down? Like okay, so this person's dad was an alcoholic, their father was an alcoholic, and so on. So the other person's just like, well, I'm not going to drink.
Right.
Is alcoholism an actual trait that's passed down?
I don't know, but could alcoholism possibly be something, when if a mom drinks, she could give her the baby fetal alcohol syndrome.
Yeah.
So maybe if there's some sort of, let's say that the mom does have a drink, or whether the dad was drinking when the child was conceived or something like that. I don't know.
Both parties were drunk when they conceived the child.
Yeah, or just the father was drank a lot, all the time. So maybe it's an inherited somehow or another. It's inherited to the child through genetics.
Yeah, I really think that past traumas really affect offspring. So if let's say your mother and or father had a traumatic experience in their life prior to the birth of their child to some degree will experience that.
Right.
Like that's sort of ingrained into the coding of the child.
Right.
Which is really weird to think about. But I think there's an evolutionary purpose to it, is to mitigate that sort of things. Like the whole idea is when you go into a wooded area, why do you instantly look up? It's to see if anything's going to fall on your head. Everybody just like immediately just like looks up.
Is that true though?
Yeah, it's pretty true.
People look up I look up when I walk outside because I want to see UFOs.
But the majority of people will just like look up because your reasoning might be different than somebody's reasoning, but we all look up. We all do certain things. Why is it that I think less than 1% of spiders are venomous? Why is it we're terrified of spiders?
Because they're scary as fuck. They're tiny creatures.
But even to a baby who has not been conditioned to be like freaked out about a spider, will freak out about a spider. Why is that? Because we all have these taggings that maybe like back when we're evolving into the humans that we are, spiders were way more toxic.
We got distortion.
Really?
Were you fiddling again?
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know what it is. It could be the feed, because since we're going through like we're not going through directly through Facebook Live. It's going through another party, and it's probably Google Fiber because the fucking shit is shit.
Is that supposed to be like the top-notch stuff?
Yeah, they say that, but they up their bills $10 every month, and the stuff never works. There'll be like times where I come in and the computer will not work whatsoever. It's just the internet does not work.
Sometimes because I don't have Google, but I have Charter, and that shit happens all the time. Like my Wi-Fi signal is strong, everything. It's just I can't get on the internet.
Yeah.
I have no idea why that's the case.
I think that the internet is now, what we experience with the internet is like what they had in 1999, underground bases, like UFO people. People working with aliens and stuff, what they had in 1999. We should just have the ability to get on the internet and get all that sort of information whenever we want.
I'm afraid because I'm sitting here, I'm afraid I'm going to have a kink in my neck today. Because I'm sitting straight, my body is, but then like my head's turned towards you to talk.
Yeah. Joe just said, my friend Joe, he just said, everyone should witness a UFO at some point in their life. True transcendence. That would be freaking awesome.
Well, what type of UFOs are you talking about? Because if it's unidentified flying object, then that could be a Russian plane, because we have no idea what it is. Are you talking about alien spacecrafts?
I think he's saying, and the distortion comes every 5 minutes and lasts a minute. But is the audio still audible? It's just a slight distortion, or is it complete destruction of sound?
It's when we shapeshift into our human forms outside of our reptilian
No,
form.
we're probably getting tapped by the government.
Yeah.
Because the closer you get to transcendence, the more they want to control you and make sure you don't get there.
Yeah, that's why we need to be big. Because, like, you think you're going to stop Joe Rogan?
I don't know. You could. You just have him whacked.
Yeah, but still, his content forever is out there.
Yeah. Just like they're trying to do to Adam. See, you hear that pop?
Yeah.
I think it starts when that pop happens. But that Adam Jones guy, I mean, they're banning him from everything. Didn't I say Alex Jones?
You said Adam Jones.
Oh, Alex Jones, yeah. They're banning him from everything just because he's crazy.
That's what they try to do with people. Like, did you see this new interview with Kanye West on Jimmy Kimmel at all, where he's talking about he's saying the word simulation, but it's not actually simulation like the Matrix simulation. He's talking about your conditioning as a child to be part of the simulated social experiment type of thing. I really feel like when people like Kanye West open up their eyes to things, or Jim Carrey open up their eyes to things, people have a tendency to like, oh, they're crazy, don't listen to the shit they're saying. But like, no, listen to the stuff that they're saying.
Right.
Because did you happen to listen to that thing at all?
No.
Because he was talking about, okay, so a kid is standing on top of a coffee table and he feels all superhero like, and then he's like, don't stand on the coffee table. So the kid's being conditioned through tons of different things of don't do this, you need to do that, you need to have this, you can't have that, until they get into this adult life, and they're just operating their bodies and their minds into this social construct of what everything is, rather than being like a free thinker of stuff.
Right.
And I think when you start telling people that everything here is really for the sake of just developing things, that people are like, nope, okay, that guy, he's thinking too off. What we need to do is neutralize that sort of thought and get that out of our system. Kind of like when Fiona Apple said, I just want to let you guys know that this life is bullshit.
Yeah.
And she was trying to explain it, and they immediately, like the news media immediately, because she won that thing, or the Grammy, I think, in the 90s, just started talking about how crazy she is, and basically ruined her fucking career because of it. Because they don't want the things to be known like that.
Right, and I think that could be the reason why they're trying to do. I don't really have a stance on what Alex Jones talks about or anything like that. I just know that if the things that he is saying, if it's true, it could be super messed up. But that would make sense because, according to him, he has all these sources that are real sources, and he has all this real information. So if he is letting this information out to the public and it actually is true, it could be detrimental to the system. So that's why I think that they are doing this, because they do know that it's true. So they're, blocking him from Facebook, from Twitter. They're trying to kill InfoWars. But what I think, though, is that if they were really that concerned, they would just have him killed.
Yeah, it's kind of what Hillary did to those people.
Yeah, but then again, at the same time,
allegedly.
Yeah, and I think maybe though that what they do instead is they just make you out to be a martyr or like a crazy person, so that then your relevance and your validity is not. No one believes you.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you say that Jim Carrey's like, oh, he's just off his meds or just whatever it may possibly be, he's delusional. It kind of like negates the things he's saying. So people be like, oh yeah, he's crazy.
Right.
Or they're actually listening to what he's saying.
They try to just make you crazy. That way, no one will believe you.
That's exactly almost like verbatim of what Kanye West said. He's like, they try to make you crazy.
Right. Well, and from the beginning of time, that could be said. When people stray off of belief, let's say you grow up in a super religious town and you're a Christian, or no, let's use like what's a more intense religion?
Islam.
Baptism.
Okay.
Baptists, right? So if you're a Baptist growing up in some small town in Missouri, you're expected to believe certain things. You're expected to act a certain way. You're expected to do this, to do that. Let's say one weekend you drive down the street, or you drive somewhere far, and you drive past a music festival, and you're like, oh, what's this? And you go in there, you meet all these people, you see this other aspect of life, and then you come back and you say, I'm not going to do this anymore. I want to go explore the world. You're made a martyr. You're crazy. Oh yeah, don't talk about Jebediah. He's crazy. He left. They what's the word? They like punish you and they make you out to be
like an outcast.
Yeah, like an outcast. And then so when anything you believe in or anything you say then is not believed, then it's said to be crazy, because they're the society, they're the controllers. So that could be said that that's the same thing that's going on now. We're just made, if someone's crazy, then they're just made out to be that way so that no one believes them, and then they don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. Just neutralize them, and then
right. And that's probably what they try to do with everyone, is they just neutralize us. And I think it's the deep state. I think it's the elitists that are really controlling things, and that's what the Alex Jones thing gets into in this. And I know it's hard for some people to believe that it could be real, but I think that it could be real. Think about a corporation. Think about Walmart. The person at the top of Walmart wants to keep as much money as he can, and he'll do anything to keep his money, because money made him a money-hungry person or whatever. Banish. Yes, banish. My dad said banish. Banish them from their...
Master banish?
Yeah. But I think that there could be, just like any other monetized corporation or monetized empire, monetized entity that has a form of leadership in order for checks and balances, I think that anything like that could have malevolent forces in it or malevolent people doing it, because they see they see what they can do if they steal money or if they don't tell the whole truth and that sort of thing. So why would it not be true for the United States?
Yeah, I think about that too. Is like, why not have free Wi-Fi for everybody?
Right, because they would not make money.
Yeah, it's all about the
And
profit.
who owns Google Fiber? Google. I'm not sure about if they're part of the whole deep state elitist faction, but they could be. But if you think about Time Warner or Charter Spectrum, these other people that control the internet and that sort of thing, they are part in some way or another of the higher umbrella of one of the very many people part of the elitist group of the deep state. So of course that's going to be monetized, and that's why I think it was about a year ago they were trying to, what was the whole thing? They were trying to do something with the internet.
Oh yeah, I forget exactly what it is, but like
cable providers could charge extra money to
slow down certain sites. And speed up certain.
And
sites.
you have to pay extra money to speed up certain sites.
Yeah, like they can just slow if you're trying to watch Netflix.
Right. To me, that's the perfect example of the elitist or the deep state trying to control things.
Well, yeah, I think everybody just wants some sort of control they think, but I don't know if their intentions are evil or if they're actually trying to be good. It's just they don't understand if it's evil or not. I think they're just trying to make society better to a certain degree. Like the whole like internet, I don't get, but I mean to some sort of degree, it's like, okay, well, if everybody knew that let's say for example, aliens do exist and all that, what sort of chaos would it bring to our social structure?
Right.
So we need to hide this information. I don't think it's like, okay, we're going to hide this but that's just me trying to see the good in everybody.
Right, which is a very good quality to have, and I do the exact same thing. I try to see the good in everyone, and I'm like, no, they're not being bad. They're not. No, it's fine. It's good.
Yeah, but some people don't have those intentions to be mean or evil. The whole thing, they just it's kind of like a protecting thing. That's the whole. Like, let's say for example, like a lie. There's only two reasons why people lie. One is to protect themselves, or to protect others. That's the only reason why you would lie to somebody.
Right.
So that's kind of how I feel like about the stuff that they have here, is to either protect ourselves or protect themselves between a lie. And sometimes it's to protect themselves. Like if they had some sort of scandal and you're a politician, is it really protecting us? No, it's to protect them. That's
right.
the thing. But maybe, concealing that aliens do run stuff could be to protect us, because they would know that we would just induce chaos.
Yeah, I think that it is, if aliens are real and the government is hiding it, they think it's for our best interest. But
Yeah.
I think that's where the argument is well, who's to decide what our best interest is?
The operators, man. Because like, think about it. You have a group of kindergartners, right? And they have a teacher. That teacher decides what's best for those students. And then who decides what's best for the teacher to teach the students is going to be the principal. And then who decides that the principal is going to be the best for teaching the teacher to teach the kindergartners is the school board. And the school board is elected by the people, like the parents of the children. So it's kind of like this big looping thing. So
right.
That's the whole premise of it. Okay, well, so like, we hire a president because to, make these things for us because we want these things, so we vote them in. But the whole idea and principle is kind of fucked basically. But that's kind of the whole idea, is this circular reasoning behind, okay, we're going to teach these people these things because of this sort of reason, to protect them because we want them to be protected because we are them.
Right. Well, I think the whole idea of a president or a principal or a regional manager or a general manager, they're all the people to take the shit. There needs to be a person to take the shit, to be responsible for something.
Yeah.
When in reality, it's the teacher's responsibility, but they need someone to kick it up. But I think that, if there is a deep state, if there is a secret government or that sort of thing, that the whole controlling the social media thing for people, that sort of thing, that would make sense of them wanting to control it. Because ever since the internet came out, people got information. It's so easy now to get information and find facts on things. People can get hacked, So Hillary Clinton, her emails, I think that when it reverbs, that's when it distorts.
Correct, yeah. Because now I don't hear the reverb.
Right. So and I think that is just the streaming thing. But I think that Hillary Clinton getting hacked, there the deep state could be falling now because of technology and because people are waking up and able to make their own decisions, and that's why there's all this crazy shit going on right now, because they're backlashing. What does an animal do when he's backed into a corner? He does anything he can to get out of that corner. So if the deep state was real, if the elitists were real, then this is the perfect storm. This is what they're doing. Everything and anything they can in order to keep their identity hidden or keep their agendas going.
Yeah.
But I was going to say something. I forgot. Something about, so this guy Milo, he has, it's probably fine to say his name. This guy I know, he has a radio show, and he told me that this might have been earlier this year or later last year. He told me that these deep state elitist people, the deep government, whatever, met somewhere and invited the owner of Walmart, Sam Walton, to this meeting.
So
and
it took back
what's that?
This is years ago then.
No, this was a year or two ago.
Okay.
I don't know. It could have been 2 years. I don't know. Year or so ago, to meet with supposed deep state government elitists, but I think that it was because they wanted to use his stores. From what I understand, from what this guy told me, they wanted to use his stores and their food in case of emergency. And the emergency would be in case they were found out and they had to flee or go underground. And they were trying to get him on board so that he would provide all the food, possibly provide his stores and this sort of thing. And he's part of this club. And I was doing even more research about all these other secret clubs and stuff, like the Black Eye people. I forget what it's part of, but apparently Tom Hanks just joined it. Where they give you a black eye. Oprah Winfrey. There's I saw this thing on Facebook that had all these people with black eyes and saying, they're part of the Black Eye Club now and this and that.
Sounds like a middle school mini gang.
Yeah, in order to join us, you have to have a black eye.
You think? Yeah, I mean, it could be though. It could be that silly that's how it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That it's such an old, silly tradition that people, that's just what they do. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. The audio feed stopped on Ableton.
That's all right.
That's all right.
Kind of winding down.
Yeah.
I'm getting kind of hungry.
Yeah.
It's lunchtime.
Yeah, I am getting hungry too. So I'm just gonna end it on the Facebook, feed first, and then I'll go back and fix all this. All right. Next weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, we will be doing Existential Breakfast again. I think we said Sunday, right?
Yeah, Sunday.
Yes, next Sunday around the same time, 10:30, depending on technical difficulties for everyone in Facebook land. It'll be next Sunday at between 10:30 and 11. Existential Breakfast. If you liked all this, and please go follow, like our page on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram. You can listen to past episodes on Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, Reality, or podcast.com. Share with your friends.
Send us an email. That's a pretty good one.